All right, you guys, we are back with Behind the Bikini, and we got another face on here with us today. So we are on episode number 50? No, 65. I was
65.
going to say 55. No, if it's 65, we're a little bit further beyond that right now. 65. So before we get into all the fun stuff today and introducing our new guest, like, comment, subscribe, all of the fun things. Drop your comments wherever. I know we're in different spots today, so wherever the buttons are,
Wherever they are.
But today we have on a very special guest. So, Sam, I would like you to go ahead and introduce yourself and why you're here. So, tell everybody who you are and what you're all about, and why we're here on Behind the Bikini today.
Awesome. Hi, good morning. My name is Samantha. I am a client of Jordan's. Jordan and I met about 2 years ago. I came to her with the want to step on stage immediately, and she looked at me and said, "No, we're going to grow and we're going to do this the right way." So here we are almost 2 years later. I just completed my first 2 shows of the season with Jordan after taking a large off season and kind of just like a health phase with her. So here to kind of discuss that a little bit, as well as touch base on how mentally evolving this sport really is.
And you have your own podcast too, right?
I do. It is called the Everything Exchange. It can be found on Spotify, and it is mainly about just self-help, motivation, kind of getting yourself out of that mental rut and moving in the right direction to kind of just change and evolve for yourself. So
cool. So what started you on that path? Like, what do you do in your normal life?
My normal life is actually kind of crazy. I work night shift at a club, so it's not really too profound, but I do feel like working in that industry has kind of just set me up for success and wanting to be the best version of myself as well, as that's not something that I want to do for the rest of my life. I would like to potentially evolve and get out of the nightlife and work with clients, do things like you guys are doing now, and just touching people not only physically but also mentally. So I feel like I have a lot to offer whenever it comes from speaking with personal experiences and what I've had to go through to get to where I am now. And it wasn't easy. A lot of people are stuck on that. So just kind of sharing my own experiences, how I have been able to kind of hurdle over those things and what has helped me. I've done a lot of self-work within myself. And yeah, so
I think that's a cool topic to talk about today too, though, because like there's people that have really odd jobs. Like I know nurses are a big one where their hours are not ideal for this lifestyle. So I think even talking about that today would be helpful. Like the fact that you do work in the club industry, like how do you navigate that aspect? And Jordan can probably talk a little bit about how she's helped you to navigate that situation, because that's hard. You're around all the alcohol and the smoke, and you don't get your sleep when you're supposed to get your sleep, and you don't get the things you're supposed to get, and all those kinds of things. So I think it would be helpful to talk about that a little bit.
It's definitely been a conversation that we've had a couple of times before with the work that I do and getting that amount of sleep. I feel like sleep was definitely one of them, especially in a prep. I would go in, I typically work about like anywhere between 9 p.m. to 5 or 6 a.m. So it's a long shift. Sometimes I wouldn't even be getting home until the sun comes up. So I live 30, 45 minutes away from work too. So by the time I'm off and driving home, I'm exhausted. So definitely during that prep where I wasn't getting enough sleep, we definitely saw my weight hinder, and maybe my stress was a little bit up more than what it should have been. So I like to call it checking off all your boxes. Once all your boxes are checked off, especially in a prep or even outside of a prep, right now I'm going through a reverse, so I still kind of live by that same thing. I have my checklist. I make sure that I go to the gym. I make sure that I get all my steps in, and then at the end is all my food, because obviously that'll push me to the end of my day. So once all of those boxes are checked off, then I'm able to kind of do whatever I need to do for the remainder of the day. If I want to hang out with friends, if I want to hang out with family, if I want to go and sit down at a restaurant with my friend and have a cup of coffee, whatever the case may be, as long as my boxes are checked off, I'm good to go. Whenever I was like working overnight on prep, I obviously would get home. We all know that, like, first of all, prep sleep in itself just is almost not necessarily like incapable, because you can sleep during prep. but it fades off. At the beginning of my prep, you're sleeping really good, you're exhausted, your body's tired, but whenever you start to get in that like really deep calorie deficit, it is almost kind of like your body is like, what am I supposed to do right now? Am I supposed to sleep? Am I supposed to stay awake? So it just becomes harder to rest. I broke up my sleep in pretty much 2 sections. So
Oh, wow.
I would come home, let's say at 5 a.m. I'd be asleep by 5:15. I would wake up at 11. I'd go to the gym for 2.5, 3 hours at this point, because I was doing an hour, and I think I got up to like an hour and 20, hour and 30 minutes of cardio. So that and alone just takes a while. So I'd go and check off my boxes, and then I'd come home and I'd go back to bed.
Oh, wow.
And then
Wow.
I'd wake up, go to work, whatever the case may be, and do it all over again. So it was difficult, but it was manageable. It just, where you put your energy at really mattered during that time.
Yeah, you find a way. You know, you mentioned the whole prep thing. I didn't have a problem with sleeping at all this prep until recently, and it's ever since daylight savings time hit, it's just like my body can't get back to where it was sleeping before.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, it's frustrating.
I wish they would just go away with that, honestly. Like, there's no reason for it.
I look at my app and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, my sleep was great until we hit daylight savings time. Now my scores all suck for my sleep. And I was like, geez Louise. So I've been not the same way, but I've been breaking up into 2 segments. So I get up at like 5 a.m. now. I do a couple of emails and like go to the bathroom and do all that kind of thing, and then go back to bed. Like, that's the only way I can get more sleep in, because otherwise, if I don't do that, I've tried a couple of times where I just get up at 5 and just keep going. And I'm like, no, I'm exhausted. I can't do that. I have to get more sleep. So
yeah. It's hard for sure. Luckily, the job that I work for is kind of like a 1099 base job. So I don't have a physical schedule, which I also thought was very nice for me too, because if I didn't feel like going to work that night, I didn't have to go in. Yeah. But I also too was also in a prep where we know that the sport takes money. So therefore, I'm going to work as much as I can until I can't no more. I think there was a point in my prep where I was like, Jordan, I can take off extra days. If she's like, I'm not telling you to do that. I was like, aye, Captain, I will continue to push through.
Yep. Oh, gosh.
Well, I think in this situation too, even week to week, it's all about trial and error. You know, something that works for Sam isn't going to work for someone else, you know, and then the trial and error comes into the piece of, you know, Sam was on an hour and 20 minutes of cardio, you know, maybe at some point she gets a walking pad at the house so she doesn't have to take a 30-minute drive to a gym. Or, I know Sam, 2 weeks out, you were like, I need the sleep. I need the rest. My stress is through the roof. I've saved money up until this point, so I can take off of work for 2 weeks leading into the show, you know? So it's kind of identifying what works, what doesn't, and something that worked for you last week isn't necessarily going to be the same that, you know, works this week. So it's really difficult and almost frustrating, especially when you're in prep and nerves are high and you're already on thin ice with your emotions and whatnot. So I think you handle it extremely well, you know, and now you hopefully won't be in this industry the next time we step on stage, because I know you're evolving and, you know, you have really big goals for yourself, but you've learned a lot, you know, from that first prep and kind of how you're going to structure it better next time. And it's all about trial and error. That's it. You know, you just kind of take what you learn and keep applying.
Now, were you also doing this when she first signed on with you as a client? Was she in the same kind of rotation, you know, as far as sleep and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and she was. Go ahead, Sam.
Yes and no. So actually, whenever I met Jordan, I actually had another job as well. So I worked Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 4. I had honestly, it was a pretty sweet schedule. I worked for Geico from home. Started with the 2019. In January of this year, they moved us in office mandatory. That just sent my mental health skyrocketed down. And to me, no job whatsoever is worth my mental. No matter the money, no matter the hours, no matter anything like that, I will find a way to manage around it to make sure that I am happy. And at that point too, it was also costing me my athletic career. I was having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, going to the gym, getting things done. Or if I wasn't able to get up that early, I would have to go whenever I got off at 4, which then wouldn't put me home until 6:30. I'm a dog mom. My babies want me home. I love being home with my kids. So it was cutting into my personal time with the things that I genuinely loved and enjoyed, and spending time with them, spending time with my friends, and it just wasn't worth it to me. So I left.
Yeah, no, I get that. I tried the whole like 9 to 5 job thing. It doesn't work for me. I can't do it. It's just not my thing.
It was working for me if they gave us still the opportunity to work from home.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, that's different. I can't go to an office.
Yeah, I'm not built to sit in a cubicle,
No,
like, or tied to a desk. That was one of the main things that I loved about working from home was if I was able to get up on my 15-minute breaks and go outside and go for a walk or take them outside or do some chores. I was falling behind on my chores, my laundry. Like, it was like, oh my God, I don't have time to literally do anything now that I've been taken away from my home. So, sayonara.
Yeah. I really like that too, because I think so many people, get so focused on the job and they hate what they're doing and they become a victim to a choice that they're making. They're making a choice to show up to that job every day. And I get it, in certain areas, jobs are, on, the lower side, it's hard to find things, but that doesn't mean you can't start opening doors and start looking and start interviewing to, find an opportunity. At the end of the day, if you hate your job, don't stay there. There's gonna be another opportunity if you go out and find one. You're not a victim at that point. You're a volunteer to your own, what you're creating for your life.
Big on that.
I mean, we spend so much time doing our job, doing what we work on during the day, every day of our lives. It's like, I think the only thing that we do more of is probably sleep if we're lucky. We spend more time on our bed. Like they always say, you want to have a really great mattress. You know what I mean? So, but you should have a really great mattress and you should have a really great job and really great career, and we live in a country where we can do that. We live in a country where we can find something that's going to work for us. And, it could just be taking a hobby, something that you are passionate about, a podcast or whatever, and that evolves into what you end up doing. That's how I got into this industry myself. I just started doing it on the side because I was people wanted me to help them with their posing in their suits. And I was like, okay, cool. And before you know it, it's like I have a full blown business. It's just not something I planned, but it's just something that evolved. And, you have to take risks. You have to take the opportunities. I was working as a manager in a gym. So it was kind of a 9 to 5 job. Not really. I kind of made my own hours. But still, it was structured and all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm like, I can't do both. I've got to figure out, I've got to pick one. So, you've got to take risks. It was not a smart play, but ended up being a really good one. So
I talk a lot about that on my podcast because that was and is one of the biggest decisions that I've ever made. Mm-hmm. I loved working for Geico. I got paid almost $30 an hour. Like, mm-hmm. It's not that I was getting paid terribly. It's not that the work schedule was crap. It was just my mental. And again, like I just said, back to the original statement, nothing is worth my mental health at all. Period.
Well, it wasn't worth it for you. Like somebody else, it might be a great opportunity and they would love it, but for you, it's the same thing when we're talking about coaching and different ways that we do stuff. Like, that may be a fantastic coach for you, but it may not work for somebody else.
Right.
So let's go back to that concept. So what made you sign on with Jordan as your coach?
So I was just an active gym goer for years before I met her, kind of just going into the gym and kind of winging it, I guess mm-hmm. you could say. I didn't really have a structured program, which is one of the main reasons why I reached out to Jordan, was because I needed some sort of structure. Mm-hmm. I also really felt like at that time in my life too, kind of just to get a little bit personal here, I was not in the greatest spot mentally or physically. I drank a lot. I was just getting out of a really bad relationship. So I really just needed to ground myself and find myself. Mm-hmm. And what better way to do that than to sign up for something that I know I'm going to have to put my time and my dedication to wherever it may take me. Now, here we are, two shows into the season, and probably, again, one of the best decisions that I've ever made. So reaching out to Jordan for honestly multiple reasons. Yes, of course, I wanted to step on stage, but also I really, really wanted to just level up and evolve. I mm-hmm. needed that for.
Yeah, I understand that aspect. I mean, that's kind of, I think that's the catalyst. It's like there's people, if you want somebody to change, they have to want it for themselves,
Yes.
So like you can't make somebody change for you, or for whatever reason, you can't make them do it. They have to want to put the effort in. Because I see it all the time. It happens in relationships all the time. It's like, well, I want my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my wife or whatever to do this, to do that, to the other thing. Well, they're not going to do it unless they want to do it. Like they
Yeah.
have to put that steps forward. And sometimes committing yourself to it is what's important.
And whenever I first met Jordan too, I was kind of working with like a lifestyle coach or something like that before I met her. So that person handed me a lot of things. With Jordan, I had to learn a lot of those things to do them on my own. I was given a meal plan. I was given, I don't know, I was given a lot of things. And I kind of looked at Jordan and I was like, I don't want to do macros. Like, I don't like to count them. It was confusing to me at the time. She was like, well, you're going to learn. You're going to learn today. And it has saved my life since then. I'm happy that I took the time and the dedication to kind of figure it out for myself, and a way to learn from myself, obviously taking the key points that she's given me since then. But macros have saved my life in like so many ways, even outside of bodybuilding. Even if I wasn't doing bodybuilding, if that's one thing that I could take away is just learning macros and just being healthier, that would be it.
I'd just like to take a moment to welcome our new channel partners, Prozis. If you are unfamiliar with them, go ahead and go down into my description box now, click on the link, go check out their site. They are the leading supplement sports nutrition company based out of Portugal, been around for 17 years. You might be asking what makes Prozis unique? Well, everything that they make is made in-house or with trusted partners. They have to go through rigorous testing in Portugal in order to even get any products on the market. So what you're gonna find really high quality, pure supplementation. And one of the biggest things for me is I have some GI issues. So being able to eat some of these more healthy protein treats and things like that and not have any gut issues, worth its weight in gold. Go check them out. Click on the link in my description box below. Use the code CUTIES10 to get all of your discounts and even some special surprises. They're always putting out some amazing promotions. Let them know that I sent you and let me know what you think. Thanks again for watching and thank you for supporting our channel. Now, go optimize your own athletic abilities and check out Prozis.com.
I was saying this, I was like, I just went through this with one of my clients yesterday. She's new with me. And she was on meal plans prior to me. And she's like, well, can you just tell me what to eat? I was like, no. I was like, what we're going to do, we got on a call last night, pulled up our MyFitnessPal together. I said, let's go in. I said, let's figure out all of your meals, all of your grams, how you're going to do this. It's not that hard. I know it's overwhelming at first, but when you just do one day, then you can just copy that and just start playing with it a little bit and stuff. Because she was like, but I can't do this. I can't do that. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to convert it. I was like, let's just sit here and do it together. I was like, and when we got done, I was like, see, it's really not that difficult. You just have to sit down and do it. And then once you do, it's like, oh, this is, like you said, it's so freeing. It's also like she asked me, she's like, we put our whole story about the whole medium banana thing, right? So we put a banana into one of her meals, and she's like, well, if I eat a banana every day, she's like, I'm going to never be able to go to the bathroom. I said, you don't have to eat a banana every day. I said, we're just putting it in here. If you want to swap it out for some blueberries or something like that, you can just swap the grams out. We're good, And she's like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, just swap it out. She's like,
that's the whole love about macros is you can literally eat anything as long as it's within your macros. So
yeah, it's such a hard concept. Go ahead, Jordan.
I want to go back before we get too far off. I want to go back to that original call, Sam, because I think something that you said in the beginning is very interesting. It's something that applies to a lot of athletes, that find bodybuilding, they get excited about it, they want to do that first show, they reach out to that first coach, and there's different coaches. We talk about that a lot on Behind the Bikini. You can talk to a coach and they're like, hey, you need to spend some time going through a health phase and actually bodybuilding and building muscle. And then there's the other coaches that kind of take your money and run with it and throw them on stage. And the athlete's already at 1,000 calories a day. And before they know it, they're on 3 hours of cardio a day and no food, and they have an awful experience. So I want to go back to that original call, because I know that when we talked on that very first consult call, you were so excited. You wanted to kind of jump right into the show, and then you kind of got your balloon deflated, right? And a lot of people do when they have a consult call with me. It's like, oh, I want to be on stage in 2 months. And it's like, no, you need to spend some time bodybuilding. So I kind of want to talk about how you felt after that call. And then, when we went into our improvement season, how things started to kind of change and evolve for you. And then the more you learned, kind of how you were appreciative by the end of, this last season when you finally stepped on stage, kind of how that all came full circle for you.
Yeah. So like I said, I was kind of working with like a lifestyle / bodybuilding coach before I met Jordan. And this girl kind of did exactly that. She kind of just took my money and per se ran with it, said that I was ready to step on stage and that I was ready to do all of these things. And she did put me in a small calorie deficit, luckily, when I met Jordan, we kind of caught on to that. So that first initial call when she said, no, you're not ready to step on stage, but I do see that you do have, the physique for doing a bikini division. I was a little disappointed for a couple of reasons. Number one, because I got by someone that thought that they knew what they were doing. Number two, just because I kind of already had in my mental that like maybe I was ready, and talking with a professional, I wasn't. So I knew that I really, really wanted to do this. So I kind of put my pride to the side, listened to what Jordan had to say, hired her on fully 100%. Took me a little bit to kind of get fully into it and just kind of like onto the swing of things. But once I started growing, number one, upping my food, I realized that I was not eating enough. Oh my God. I realized that I was bird picking, actually, even before I met the other coach as well. Like, we didn't go through any growth phase. She literally just said, yeah, you could step on stage, cool. And then immediately started dieting me. So that was something that was really interesting to me. That helped me change. Number one, I just realized that I wasn't really the healthiest version of myself at that point in time, that I indeed did not eat enough, period. Even if I wasn't in a bulking phase to grow to be competitive, to step on stage, I just even wasn't consuming enough for my body to maintain a healthy state. So overall, at the beginning, a little bit disappointed, but now that we were ending our season of growth and stepping into an in-season, I was very, very pleased because I saw how much muscle I put on. I saw how much work I did within that past year to year and a half of growing before we finally decided to do a cut. And I don't know, it just feels nice that I was able to kind of put my pride to the side a little bit and say, okay, if I want to be competitive and if I want to do this the right way, this is what I'm going to have to do to get there. And my end season, I love that.
Well, that was smart because there's a lot of people that can't just put that aside and say, okay, I know I need to work on this. I've worked with several girls for over the years, and I just started coaching this past year, but I've worked with them in their posing and presentation. I can tell you from them jumping on stage too quickly, the worst feeling that they have when they're done with their season is that they either didn't improve or they regressed. And they're like, this is worse than if I had won. If I'd won the whole show, great. I would still feel bad because I don't look any better. Like that's the worst thing. People don't understand that when they first start the sport. They don't get it. They think that, and they have an unrealistic expectation from what they see on social media and things like that. And they think that they've got more muscle than they do. And, they fall into marketing hype. And we've talked about those kinds of things all the time. And when they don't have a coach that's going to be like, yeah, but you need to do this before we even consider a prep, they fall into that, that, and they get on stage and they're like, well, I thought I was going to look a whole lot better than this, and they don't. And I'm speaking from personal experience. I hired a guru in our industry at one point, and I will never forget that conversation where I said to him, I said, how long do you think I need in order to get on stage? He said, 3 months. And I was thinking in my head, I needed an off season. That's what I was thinking in my head. And I'm like, 3 months. I was like, that means I'm going into prep. And I'm thinking, but and I'm sitting there thinking, but he's the guru. He knows better than I do. You know what I mean? So, and I followed him and I saw my physique on stage and I was like, oh, I look like shit. It just, there's only, you can't pull blood from a stone. If you don't have the muscle there, if you don't have the caloric intake up high enough, you got nowhere to go.
I would say at that realization, kind of like back to like the social media thing.
Yeah.
It can be a hurtful thing, but it can also be a helpful thing if you really look at it and you learn to decide from it. Because whenever I hired that lifestyle coach and she told me that I was ready to step on stage, not that I went to go compare myself or kind of compare myself, I guess, at that point, just to kind of see like where the criteria was, what exactly at this point also too, I'd never been to a bodybuilding show. Like whenever I met Jordan, I think it was like a total of like a month after I then went and did my first show that I watched was a Clash. And it was at like the beginning of the year, and it was like right after I hired Jordan. So realizing through social media that I was not where I needed to be, that kind of like quickly pushed me forward to find someone that I knew was going to give me the professional help that I wanted to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean,
because fitness influencers are a lot different conditioning than bodybuilding, and most of the time we're following our favorite influencer. So they're not necessarily stepping on stage, but they look really fantastic. Great. You know what I mean? But that gives us also a false identity of what we're going to look like on stage. And that's why a lot of girls, when they go through their first prep, they're like, I'm too lean. I'm too lean. I'm too lean. I'm like, you're leaner than your favorite influencer, but you're not going to be too lean for a bodybuilding show. This is part of the challenge. So it's good that you were doing your homework originally, right? You signed up for a bodybuilding show. You knew you hadn't seen it. And you're like, wait, what am I looking for? Like, what does this look like? And sometimes too, I will say, like, we have the reverse body dysmorphia where we feel like we have more muscle or we kind of fit the criteria better than we do. You know, that's why Shawn and I have coaches. That's why you know, we all can't see ourselves truly the way that someone else sees ourselves. So while, just like you're saying, Sam, social media can be bad in terms of like the comparison game and definitely kind of get you off your game, it could also be a really great tool to figure out where am I going and, you know, what am I working towards, especially if it's your first show and or you're trying to get to your first show and you've never even seen one before in person.
Yep. And you got to be able to be objective about it, which is hard. It's very hard to be objective. It's really hard. And sometimes you just can't until you actually get up there and you say, oh, okay, I see where I need to work, you know? And sometimes it's about standing next to other people. I said this about my client this past weekend. I was like, you look great. I said, but when you stand next to those other girls up there, I was like, we can see where your deficiencies are.
Get exposed,
Yeah, we can see where we need to work. We can see where the problems are. I'm like, we knew this already. We knew it going in, but this makes it really, really obvious. And it's like, you can't get mad about your placing or anything like that because it's really clear why they placed ahead of you, you know? So it's like, it's the comparison thing. You're right. It can be very difficult, but if you can be objective about it and you can see it with that eye of, okay, I'm doing this to learn and grow from it, then it can be really good. You know, I say all the time though, like when I started in this 15 years ago, there was none of this. There was no social media, none of this kind of stuff. And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, if they had this stuff back when I was starting, I don't know if I would have ever gotten on stage just because the overwhelm of the information, you know what I mean? Like when I got on stage, I didn't know nothing from nothing. And I thought I was hot shit. I didn't care. You know, I was like, I'm gonna rock this. And I did, because I didn't care. I was just like, whatever. I got nothing to compare myself to, you know? So there's a happy medium. I think there's a happy medium.
For sure. And I also think too about like, wow, I just lost my complete train of thought. It just went whew, right out the window.
I have those moments sometimes. I am 2 weeks out from a show, so I have those moments sometimes, you know.
I think also back to like social media and like what Jordan was saying, even though it's something that you can look at and not necessarily suffice, like bodybuilding might not even be for you. If you're following an influencer that is just fit and they look great, that should still be something that you want to work towards and get to, and kind of like help yourself evolve a little bit. Like, let those people influence you. They're there for a reason, yes, but keep those goggles on to the point where this is where I want to be. I don't want to be them. I want to be like them. And the comparison game, back to that. I feel like for myself, I keep a really good blocker on for that. Whenever I look at other bodybuilders or other influencers or anything like that, I learn. I look at them and I'm like, wow, her glutes, I want my glutes to look like that. I want to be like that. But I know that I have to put in the work to do it.
Right.
So therefore, I'm not going to sit there and get down about myself because she's got better glutes than me, knowing that we already knew going into an in season that we just needed overall more mass in general. So I also think that kind of like leads into like the in season with you. Before we started a prep, we already knew that I needed to be more dense and just have more muscle maturity. But for the work that I put in for the past year to a year and a half in that growth phase, it was so rewarding to see once I started that prep and started to see all like the lines and things like that happen, all of the growth that I did in the past year. Because if I would have started prep immediately whenever I met Jordan, I would have not done any of that. I literally would have stood on stage like this and like a twig, which some people, that's fine. If you would like to do that, then yes. But if you want to be competitive in this sport, definitely taking that time to grow. And then again, I knew going into this that I was going to need to be more dense, that I needed to put on more muscle. But I was excited to see what I had grown in the past year, just to kind of like, again, see where I was at. So into this season, I was extremely pleased with my physique. I was happy with how I placed. Overall, with how I was feeling during a prep, I feel like Jordan really made that easy. Not necessarily easy, because no prep is easy, but the support that I received from Jordan going into the prep and throughout it all was extremely helpful. Very, very helpful.
So talk a little bit about that. So when you're talking about support, what did that include? What did Jordan do for you that helped support you through the off season and through the prep season?
So I was definitely a person that wasn't 100% honest on my check-ins, just because I didn't want to disappoint my coach. I feel like that is something that is not talked about enough either. Your coach is there to help you. And if you're not honest with your coach, how are they going to help you?
I see that a lot. Girls are afraid. They're afraid to tell you the truth. Like, no, I need to know the truth so I can fix things for you. Like, tell me.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna smack you. I'm not gonna slap your hand. I just need to know so that we can fix it.
So I feel like whenever I just fully started being completely 110% honest with Jordan, that's when things started to really help me, because there were things that like I was holding back on. Like, she would ask in my check-ins, like, how am I feeling overall? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling fine and I'm feeling dandy. But I was tired. I was exhausted. I was feeling depleted. I think there was at one point in my prep where she gave me a refeed that I probably didn't really need, but I needed that mentally. Like, I was just exhausted all around in every aspect, but she would not have given me that if I wasn't 100% honest. So the check-ins, also reaching out when I felt like I needed to, was also a really big thing. Like, there were hard days where like I would reach out to her and be like, Jordan, like today's not a really good day. I don't really know what to do or how I'm feeling, whatever the case may be. She'd kind of give me that talking support that, you know, like, this comes with the sport. You know, you're going to have days where there's highs, you're going to have days where there are lows, but you just got to keep your eyes on that end goal. And that's exactly what I did. So
how do you feel like your adherence to the plan was? Jordan can probably jump in on this too. Like, how do you feel like, did you hit your macros all the time? Did you do your training all the time? Did you do your cardio all the time? You know, what was your adherence level, do you think?
I would probably say I am very hard on myself. So if I miss a day in the gym, it's because I truly need to miss a day in the gym. If I am not feeling well, if I am just super exhausted from work. I think there was one time I didn't get home from work until 9 o'clock in the morning, and I messaged her the next day, and I was supposed to train the following day, and I was like, it's not happening. Like, I need to rest. I need to let my body just recoup and recover. As far as like my macros off season, of course, I had those bites here and there. I would obviously tell her that if I did have those bites, where I had them and what they were. During my in season, though, I stuck to my macros to a T. I didn't eat any single bites off of my plan. I made sure that I fit everything within my macros because I wanted that to be easy for me. I'm not going to sign myself up to eat extra food or do things that I'm not supposed to be doing to make it harder on me, as I'm already going through enough. Like, I don't want any more cardio. I don't want any more macro drops. So really just ensuring that I stick to that plan. I feel like my adherence was probably like a 10 out of 10, at least
in season. What do you think, Jordan? What would you say, Jordan? Would you agree with that?
Completely agree with that. I think that her food was spot on. I've never had an issue with Sam in season or off season. The good thing about her job is she's conscious of how she looks 24/7 all the time. So that does help in terms of food. And then we got to a point about midway through the prep where Sam was talking about earlier, she was just super depleted, and it had to do with her caloric output at that point. She was training super hard. She was on a ton of cardio, and plus her job, she's up late hours and she's on her feet through those hours. So the body was just super, super tired. So I do this with the nurses too. You know, you have to kind of gauge and ask yourself when you wake up that following morning, like, am I really tired or am I being lazy? And it's a very hard bounce. Her and I had a couple conversations about this in the beginning, and finally I was like, Sam, you know your body. If you wake up that morning and you know that you had a really hard night, I trust your judgment on that. Take that rest day. And Sam is also somebody that feels guilty when she takes a rest day. So I know that if she can get to the gym, she is going to, because if not, I'm going to hear in her check-in, sorry, Jordan, I didn't make that Sunday session. I feel super bad about it. What should I, and I know from her heart and her communication and her check-ins that it's not being lazy. She just really needed the day. So we were stuck on weight for about 3 or 4 weeks there. And I think she came and saw me in person at Tampa Pro for an in-person check-in. And she walked into the room and I could immediately tell something was off about her. You know, Sam is, when she steps into the room, is definitely one of those people that brightens the room. She's got that power about her. She makes everyone feel loved, everyone feel good. And then when she stepped in, I just felt like this heaviness. So before I even looked at her, I'm like, what's going on? And then that's when she finally said, I haven't been feeling right. I don't feel like myself, blah, blah. And we did the refeed. So, you know, it's something that you have to kind of work through in prep. You don't have to be Superman. There are going to be days that are bad, you know, and you have to talk to your coach. And sometimes when you tell me, just like Sam said, you're going to get feedback. You're going to get a refeed. You're going to get a day off of cardio. There's going to be maybe something I can do to help. But some days you're going to tell me, and I'm just going to say, hey, listen, this is part of it, you know, and we have to kind of decipher that together. But no matter what, the communication is there just to at least unload it off your chest. And from that point, when we saw each other and she was honest with me, the prep went smooth sailing from there, because I understood where she was at and I implemented things to help her. So I think that was a really important piece, Sam, you know, to kind of talk about that. I also know that for you, you know, cerebrally, you're a very cerebral person, a very energetic person. And I kind of want to talk about, you know, when you started with me till your show day, like the evolution of your mental and your mindset, and kind of how did bodybuilding affect that big piece for you?
Yeah, I would say before I found bodybuilding, I am a very energetic person, as Jordan just said. I love to be surrounded by people that are uplifting, that are full of energy, that are full of light, that bring good to the world, that bring good to me. If you are a positive person, like, I want nothing more than to just have you around me. I feel like I need the genuineness of people. Starting the sport, I had a large group of friends. I feel like this is one of the biggest things for me. I had a very large group of friends, and this large group of friends loved Sam that ate out, loved Sam that drank, loved Sam that didn't get any sleep, loved Sam that partied. Going into this sport, I have a circle that's this small now. And I feel like that alone has helped me evolve a lot, because it has weaned out a lot of people that I realized just weren't good for me at all. And that was something that was mentally hard for me to go through. I think there has been a couple of times throughout our off season and in season where I'm just like, I just don't understand. Like, I don't get why these people are doing this to me or anything like that. But in all reality, I realized that it's truthfully not necessarily even the sport, but just the universe placing these people into my life for a reason, teaching me something, and then getting them the fuck out. See ya later. Sayonara. They're not meant to stay. So those people that truly stick with you throughout this entire process are the people that you are supposed to have, period. Yep. That was one thing that really, really evolved me a lot. And a big, big, big eye opener for me was that there are just a lot of people that are not there for your own personal growth. And the people that want to see you do better are going to stay. The people that see the effort that you put into something that you love are going to stay. Yeah. Again, not only just like friendship wise, but like relationship wise with parents and loved ones and everything like that underneath the sun. And physically, really, really physically, I, again, retracting back to a statement that I said earlier, I was the Sam that ate out. I was the Sam that drank and stayed up late and did all of those things. I was not healthy myself. So this sport really helped me put that into a perspective too, as to how unhealthy I really was. And that alone evolved me. I'm now feeling more energetic. I can wake up in the mornings and do things. I know where and when to put my time and energy into people. But truthfully, the one like main evolving out of all of this was just weaning people in and weaning people out, seeing who's there for you, who isn't there for you, and also just remaining on that same path no matter who enters and who exits, because no one should be able to take away a dream of yours. If you feel like you are thinking too much about what other people, I talk about this all the time on my podcast, I'm very, very guilty of it. I think way too much about what other people think and feel about me. I am one of
this conversation.
I am one of those people where I'm just like an over people pleaser, I guess you can say. Like, I want to make sure that my friends are happy. I want to make sure that my loved ones are happy. But like, what about Sam? What about me? And what about makes me happy?
Yep.
So I'm still struggling with it.
You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. And I'm still struggling with it, but it is definitely something that I've gotten better at because of where I realize I want to go in the sport. That I
was going to ask about that too, because like you have two very different worlds. Like you have your, the bar world where you work, and that's clearly not conducive to the bodybuilding community. And then you got the bodybuilding community. So like, how do you manage both of those worlds inside your world? How do you manage that?
I worked with these girls for like 3 years, and they will still come to me and be like, you want to take a shot? I'm like, girl, no, goodbye. But like, it's funny to me because I just say no. I, again, came from a place where I used to drink. And honestly, whenever I first started that job, that's all I did there was just drink. I drank all shift, every time that I went in, like, I would drink. And not only that, I was then putting my safety in kind of harm's way because I have a long drive home. So like, what am I doing taking shots at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, knowing darned damn well that I have to drive 30, 45 minutes home. So again, I think just back to that original statement where I knew that it wasn't healthy, not even necessarily healthy, but healthy. Like I knew that I was putting my safety at risk. I knew that I was putting other people at risk. I was putting myself at risks. So I kind of, again, I guess double backing too to the statement where friends come and go, that kind of like showed people that I was serious about what I was doing, and that I'm still going to say no matter what, especially on my prep. I was a plate sniffer.
A plate sniffer, okay.
A plate sniffer. Like if my friends got food, I'm like,
can I just smell that?
Can I just come and whiff your food? Like those things though, and like my close people understand that like that was a thing for me, and they would let me do it. And that is kind of something that helped me through my prep. Was
so funny.
Instead of taking that bite, I got a good whiff of a cheeseburger, and that was enough for me. It just
I'm the opposite of that. Like when my husband cooks stuff, I get up and I leave. Like I'm out.
There were both times. Absolutely. Because there would be times where someone had burger and fries, and I'd be like, oh my God, I really want to take
That's Sam's thing. She loves burger and fries.
Man, I would want to take a bite.
She got a free meal this week, and she went right to the burger and fries.
Right to the burger and fries.
I'm down with the burger. I'm not a fries person, but I'm down with the burger for sure.
I didn't finish all the fries, but I definitely finished pretty much all of the burger. There was like maybe like a fraction of it left. So, I mean, I don't know. There were ways that were around it where I just like kind of had to be like that mentally strong-ish point where like I knew that I still have a goal to complete, and I'm not going to let a bite of a cheeseburger or a shot of a sugary drink again ruin it and make it harder for me.
I think that's, you said something that was very poignant, was you said, I just say no, right? Like, I think a lot of people are afraid to just say no.
To lay the boundary.
We've had this conversation before where the saying is no is a complete sentence, right?
Yep.
You don't have to explain why. You don't have to make excuses. You don't have to do any of those things. You just say no. And I think a lot of people are afraid to just say no.
They are.
Something I do too, and CM, you could talk about this. When day one of starting prep, I have about 15 or 20 points that I send to the athlete. Day one of prep, this is the expectations. And something that I put in there is talk to your loved ones now about what the next 16 to 20 weeks looks like. Yeah. Talk to them now before they see you on 2 hours of cardio a day and that your fuse is short. And talk to them now about what this looks like, what you can and cannot do, and set that boundary and tell them too how they can support you. I'm not going to be able to go out to eat. Can we instead do game night at the house or something where I can bring my food? Like, they are not signing up for a bodybuilding competition. And for most people that are starting this brand new, your life is going to look 180 degrees from where it was. CM is very prevalent in that. So she one day just said, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm not taking these shots. I'm not going out to eat. And everybody's like, what happened to Sam?
Yeah.
So if she,
literally,
so coming up to the person saying, this is the journey that I'm on. This is really important to me. This is what I'm trying to do. This is how you can help me and support me. This is how you can talk to me. This is how you can compliment me. This is how I can still do things with you, but also stick to my plan. Mm-hmm. And they have to learn that too. I think part of the frustration when it comes to people around you is, number one, people are in your life because of the person that you are right now. So that goes to your point, Sam. Some people are in there for a season, they teach you something, and then they're meant to get the hell out of there. But for the people that truly do love you, they just probably need some communication on how they can adjust to this new person that's going to be in their life. And just like you said, Sam, the people that truly love you just want you to be happy, and they're going to support whatever that looks like. Even if they don't see you for 6 months, cool. Can we like FaceTime? Like when we're eating dinner, you don't smell my food, but whatever, like that. There is some educational piece. So that is something I tell them up front, is have those conversations up front. That way you're not getting in the middle of a fight with someone, especially in the middle of prep. Like, put a freaking group Google Meet together. Hey, everybody that I love, like, this is what we're doing, So having that communication up front, I think, is huge. But I agree with you, Sam. Like, when I first started bodybuilding, my circle was this big, and then now it is this big. And one of the things Drew and I say all the time is circle smaller. We used to say circle small. Now it's circle smaller. So
yeah.
The people that truly love you and want you to succeed is probably less than this many. That's just the way the life goes, So really protecting your space and setting those boundaries, I think, is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely,
to piggyback off of setting boundaries, also don't be afraid to speak up to those people that are in your closer circle if they might have hurt your feelings in a sense. Like I can proudly bring up 3 people that are in my life that I love them dearly. They are my best friends. And I know that they want nothing more than to just let me be the individual person that I am. But at the beginning of my prep, I kind of noticed them all just, like they all kind of just went. And again, these are people of my closer circle. So I was like, hey, what's happening here? Like, I still love you guys. I can still do these things. And I went to them and I had these hard conversations that maybe you might not want to have. But I went to 2 of my really good friends are really, really great about this. If I hurt their feelings, I know I can go to them and talk to them. If they hurt mine, I know vice versa. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like one of those conversations where, hey, I know that I'm in prep right now, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to hang out with you and spend time with you. Yeah. We can still go and do X, Y, and Z. I can bring my meal prep. This doesn't hinder me from being here with you, but don't isolate me. Don't invite me to not hang out with you because you think that prep is something that's so hard and that I don't have time for anything or anybody else, because that's not the case. I need the support ultimately more than anything right now. So don't put me in a box and say, oh, Sam can't do anything for the next 20 to 26 weeks, however long. Bring me out of that box, put me right back where I need to be, because I'm not different. I mean, I'm different consuming food wise. I'm different with maybe some of my energy some days, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to hang out with you. So don't be afraid to have those conversations with those closer circle people either, where like you might start to feel a little bit different or how they're treating you a little bit different. Tell them that like, hey, I really need your support during this time. Here's how you can help me, but just don't isolate me, you know?
Yeah. And give options too. Like a good example, I had a client that this past weekend, we're friends too. And I was like, okay, when do you want to sit down and have our post-show conversation? You know, what we're going to do and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I've got X, Y, and Z available on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. She's like, I really need Saturday just for me to process everything that happened, all this kind of stuff. She's like, maybe we can meet up on Monday. I was like, cool, awesome, not a problem. Give options and things like that. And then she texted me back on Sunday. She's like, do you got time this afternoon? I got time this afternoon. So let's go do it. Perfect. You know what I mean? So, but give the opportunity to process, go through. So you're not coming at it from an emotional standpoint, and you can sit down and have a really good discussion,
Yeah.
I mean, dealing with just normal everyday people like my husband, we have Thanksgiving coming up. I'm a week out from a show during Thanksgiving. And he's like, so what do you want to do? Do you want to do a turkey? We talked about the Cornish game heads. I was like, honestly, I'm a week out. I want to keep things as clean as possible. Can we just grill? He's like, cool. And he sent me links to all these different steaks and cuts and stuff like that. I was like, what can you eat and things like that. And again, you have that conversation. You don't have to have turkey and mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? But you can sit down and you can do something else. You can figure out something that works for everybody.
If they wanted to, they would.
Yeah, absolutely.
I 100% say that to myself all the time. And if the people in your life that are loved ones that are in your closer circle, if they truly cared about you, if they wanted to, they would. 150%.
Yep.
I have been like an isolated little bird by myself for a very long time, not like in like a lovey-dovey relationship or anything like that. And I wasn't expecting to meet someone special during my prep, but I did. And she has made it so easy for me to just allow myself to be present, to be with myself, support me the way that I needed to. And I think that she's like really the biggest eye opener as to like, if they wanted to, they would, because she lives 2.5 hours away and still managed to come to my shows, to come to me on peak week, or to the shows leading or the weeks leading up to into my show where I was tired and I was depleted and I didn't want to put in that 2-hour drive, because we know how much being in the car is that depleted, especially for longer periods of times. Your body just aches. So if they wanted
jerseys for me and all of your loved ones that came to the show, like custom Sam jerseys. Yeah, it was really cool. Really, really
cool. If they wanted to, they would.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are the people that you want by your side,
Yes.
My father-in-law, before he passed away, his favorite saying was, if you die with 5 friends, if you count the number of friends that you have on one hand, he's like, you've had a very rich life. Yeah. Rich life. We have lots of acquaintances. I say it all the time. Like, my husband will say, well, you got so many friends on Facebook and Instagram. I said, they're not my friends. I said, they're followers, they're fans, they're acquaintances, they're people that I see. They're not my friends. There's a difference. There's a difference.
Yeah. That's what I call them too, is my acquaintances. I have a lot of acquaintances. There are people that I have conversations with almost every single day on a social media platform or on Facebook or whatever the case may be. I don't call it. Sure, they're my friends, but they are really acquaintances. They don't know anything about me and what I do, and they don't really care to learn, and that's fine. I don't expect everybody and anybody to. Like, I don't need to give you my life story, but I am a friendly being. I enjoy having conversations. I like being forward. I like a good energy. So acquaintances, and keeping them in the acquaintance box versus vocalizing that they're friends, because I also think that that's something too, where like, let's say it is someone that might reach out to you on social media every other day and you start to consider them your friend. And then when they disappoint you or something along the lines of that happens, you're kind of like, well, why would my friend do that to me? They're not your friend. They are your acquaintance and they don't owe you anything.
That's right. That's right. And I think that there's that blurry line too, because people on social media and stuff like that think that they know you because, they watch stuff like this and they hear us talking all the time. So they think they know you really well. I promise you, you know about me what I want you to know about me.
And it's like this much.
Yeah.
I'm
There's
a very
so much
private
that goes
person.
on. 100%. Me too. People have no idea. I'm like, you have no idea. And I think a lot of us that have a presence like this, that have podcasts, that do, we know how to draw that line where, okay, you know this much about me, but this is my real life over here, and you don't know anything about that. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to have that. You need to set those boundaries. again, the no is a complete sentence. You need to have a boundary. You need to say, okay, my real people know me, my not so real people don't, and you got to prove yourself before you can become one of my real people.
Yeah, literally though.
It's true. Yeah. Like, and at the end of the day, it's a lot of times you'll let somebody into that circle and they will end up hurting you at the end of the day too. So it's hard, as you get older, like myself, ancient over here, as you get older, you start realizing you got to be ready for that. You got to be ready for the heartbreak and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So Sam, now that you're done with your show, so you just got off stage a few weeks ago in your reverse diet. So in a synopsis of taking, the last year and a half, 2 years, kind of what did you learn and what are you applying now for the off season and kind of what's next for you?
So my first off season with you and going through like the health phase before I went into a prep season, I would probably say that I was not the cleanest with my health and like the foods that I put into my body. I ate a lot of processed things. I kind of just didn't choose the right food options maybe in an off season that I kind of realized during my prep was like, oh shit, like these are things that are harder to shred off. So definitely going into my next off season, I definitely want to keep it more clean and more nutritious whole foods rather than processed, just to kind of help me with my following in season. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean that I can't go and eat a piece of bread or whatever the case may be. Like, obviously just be mindful with what you put in your body. I feel like something that I talk about too, I have a couple lifestyle clients. I use peanut butter as a huge example. If you pick up a jar of Jiffy peanut butter and there's 20 ingredients on there versus picking up a jar of organic Green Wise peanut butter and there's 2, that should kind of just tell you to just pick up what you're eating and look at the ingredients.
But it's peanut butter. It fits my macros.
Yep.
No, it's not. It's not good.
Yep.
I know that it might fit in your macros, but it's not good for you.
If you can't pronounce the ingredients, you shouldn't be putting it in your body, period.
That part. So kind of just going into an off season, just being more mindful about the nutrition that I decide to put into my body, making sure that I keep the same movements going as well, and just keeping my trainings more of intense. I feel like my first off season, I kind of just not necessarily wung it, but I was one of those people that stayed at a comfortable weight because I was comfortable. So definitely, we just had a coaching call a couple days ago, and one of the things that she gave a definition of was her version of intense, or like pushing till failure, and what that means. So kind of being okay with not being comfortable. There's going to be weights that you're going to push that is going to feel uncomfortable. Now, mind you, I am in a reverse, so kind of feeling a little bit more sore than normal, and that's just because I haven't lifted heavy in the past, 26 weeks, 25 weeks, however long I was in a prep. So just kind of trying to find that like happy medium to where my body is happy, but I'm also feeling good with pushing the weight that I'm pushing. Again, just being mindful with the nutrition. I feel like that was really something that I want to take into consideration my next off season. But overall, my prep was great. My shows were awesome. I placed good. I got good feedback. I did 2 shows, which I didn't think. I told Jordan at my first show, I didn't think that I was going to be able to do it, but I kind of wanted to mentally challenge myself and just push myself a little bit longer and get some more feedback before we went into an off season. And we kind of did that with the second show. And I feel like my second show, energy wise, I was able to be more spunky because I wasn't there to, we're all there to replace and we're all there to win. We want to be competitive, yes, but really, really went into that second show with, I need this for me mentally, just to kind of see where I'm at and get some more feedback. And I was so spunky. I was able to actually kind of just like show my true personality versus that Battle of the Bodies. I was not really drug all over the place, but it was my first show. So I was nervous and I wasn't really sure where to be or what to do, or I didn't want to trip and fall on stage. So just like really focus with my routine. And now that I already had one underneath the belt going into my second show, I just felt like I belonged there. Like I knew that was my calling for sure.
I love that you brought that up, because I think so many first-time competitors just, they do that first show, and then for whatever reason, they don't do another. They don't, their coach wants them to immediately go into an off season. And that first show is so overwhelming because everything is unknown. You don't know what the backstage areas look like. You're getting used to the expediter screaming and making you hurry up, and then you're just standing there, and you're getting on stage and the bright lights are in your eyes and the judges are just like, everything is so overwhelming that first show that it cannot be fun because it's just, everything is new and learning. And then I agree with you. Like that second show, it was like, this is Sam. Like your presence on stage was amazing. She already has amazing stage presence and her posing routine is amazing. But the first time it was kind of like, it's like, am I here? And there's a lot of athletes that say they black out, the first time on stage. You're like, I don't even remember going up there. What happened? So that second time you came out and you were having fun. You had your photographer there with you. You're passing out cook. Like you were just chill because you knew what to expect, So I love that you brought that up. Thank you. Because I think so many times people are like, that first show experience, that's how it's like all the time. And it's, first show experience is first show. And then from there, you're just like, all right, I got this. I know what to do.
If you can do a second show, do a second show.
I was going to say, I try to tell them, always do at least 2 shows in a season for that reason right there.
If you're going to cut it, do it.
Exactly. Like you're already there, push a little bit longer. Like you've already hit the hard part. You've already done the hard part. You're literally already there. So if you can push a couple more weeks or a week or 2, I think we were talking about possibly even doing a show like right after, like that weekend after. But I was like, I don't want to do that. I kind of want to take the feedback, see what we can do with maybe a little bit more food. I know that I probably can't grow any, but I can come in more full and show the judges that I can make a quick turnaround in such a quick time. Not only that, but have fun with your second show. Like another thing is too, that I also, like Jordan brought up the cookies. I'm there to make friends. Like I'm not there. That's another thing is like, yeah, sure. You're competitive and you're there. Those are your competitors that you're competing against. But at the end of it, it doesn't have to be like tooth and nail. Like you don't have to be at each other's throats.
Because they don't have any control over what the judges pick.
The judges make the decision.
The judges
you guys
make
are just showing up.
There's no reason. There's literally no reason to be like, like she has, like
she worked just as hard as you did,
I'm back there passing out cookies. I'm like, here's my Instagram. Like if we live close, like let's get coffee sometime. Like I just love to connect with people. So I get my own cookies made and I typically do them like show inspired and it's a good conversation starter. So just, I don't know, being present and not necessarily wrapped up in the competitive world because the person that's standing next to you is not going to.
Whoa.
It's not her reactions turned on.
That's hilarious.
It's not going to, they're not going to be the ones to pick and choose how you place. No. They're just up there with you. So there's no reason to be snobby or there's no reason to kind of give a dirty look or anything like that. Like connect, be friends. I found a lot of people from Hurricane that actually live in Tampa that we connect with a lot on social media, going to get coffee, whatever the case may be. And the community world and this world especially is already so small enough as it is. So if you can find bodybuilder friends that bring their meal preps to a restaurant, but get a drink, or simply want to go out and just have a coffee and go for a walk downtown because that is our normal, make it happen.
Well, this world, like you said, this world is very, very small. So, the last thing you want to do is create enemies backstage because you're going to run into them again. You're going to. At some point, you're going to see them somewhere. It just is what it is. I mean, I've been in this industry for 15 years, and there's people in my first show that are still active in this industry as show promoters and judges and all that kind of stuff that I literally competed next to in my very first show 15 years ago, So it's like you just enjoy it because these people will be in your lives forever too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you just never know when you're going to make that connection,
That's one of the ways I found Fit Body. One of my very first shows, my first season, I was literally outcasted by another team. I was sitting backstage. I was there for hours. I was there way too early because I had no idea what I was doing. And as this big team started coming in, they had 20, 25 plus girls. They literally told me, hey, you need to move. We need this area. Go sit on the other side of the room. And I was like, wow, teams freaking suck. And then the next season, I was once again backstage and 4 or 5 Fit Body girls were like, hey, are you alone? Like, why don't you come over here and sit with us? And
yeah.
I was afraid. Like I had that such bad experience, but these girls were so sweet. And then that's when Jamie came back and she was looking at all the girls and I was like, I want that. And then when I made the decision I was going to leave my first coach, like Jamie was one of the first people I called. I interviewed with 2 coaches and Jamie was it for me. So, and the other coach from that big team actually came up and asked me years later, like, why didn't you even consider me? Like, why, like when you were making that switch? And I told them the experience and they were shocked, but it happened. And it's funny too, from that show where I was outcasted to the other side of the room, I actually sat with a bunch of girls, one of them being Allegra, who just got her pro card this year. Like, and we've been friends forever. We've both followed each other's journeys to go pro. For me, you know, going to Olympia, like Allegra was at Sasquatch. She drove to Sasquatch to be there for me and Zoe. Like, those are friendships that will last a lifetime. And if you open yourself to that, and Sam, you're totally that person. Like, that's something I absolutely love about you. I know we've talked about this, but you are so inclusive and you make everyone feel super, super, super special. And it matters. It matters to people that are with us on our team backstage, but it matters to the people that you're also, you know, sometimes I'm like, where's Sam? And she's over on the other side of the room connecting with someone, but you make that person when they leave, oh my God, I met this great girl backstage. Like, you make a show experience for them without even knowing it. And that's something that's really, really important, not only for you, but like for Fit Body. Like, that's what we believe in, is inclusivity and making people feel loved and special, whether you're on the team or not. And you embody that, which I love and respect about you so, so much.
Thank you. I really try. And again, just there's no reason to be nasty or negative. Like how you say, like, I might be all the way across the room talking to someone else that's not on our team. Yeah, there are competitors, but like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, we're all humans. We are all here competing in the same sport, maybe not in the same category. It doesn't even matter at that point. We have all put in so much hard work and dedication to even so as much be there. And that's a privilege. It's a privilege to step on that stage for that 30 to 45 seconds to show all of that hard work that we just put in for the past 20 to 25 weeks, however long your prep was. Why waste it on being negative? Why waste it on something that doesn't even matter with the people that literally have gone through the same thing, if not harder? You know what I mean? So I think back to just like the core values of Fit Body Fusion and just kind of just being present and giving that good energy. I am happy to be a part of this team for multiple reasons, but not only that, I also see that a lot within other teammates too that are on our team, that they're just there to be present and have fun. I competed with Ashley. Her and I are like, that's my little twin, that's my little bestie. And we did 2 shows together. So like, just making those connections and finding those people that you fit with in that category that, you know, you can go out and have coffee with, like I said before, or even just so as much have a simple conversation. Like, we kind of leaned on each other a little bit after our reverse. I feel like our reverse diets have been kind of not the same, but definitely similar, with some of like the similar struggles with going through a reverse, and being comfortable to have those conversations with your teammates that are also literally going through the same thing.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because like one of the things, as you're talking about this stuff, I always go back to Angelica being one of the best Miss Olympias we've had for bikini, because whenever you talk to her, she makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. You know, she makes you feel like you're special. She makes you feel like you're, you know, she wants to have a conversation with you. And I think that that is a really amazing quality in a person in general, let alone somebody who represents our sport, you know. And again, she's one of our Fit Body coaches too, so I think that's awesome as well that she kind of portrays that too. But like, that's the kind of vibe, you know, that's the kind of vibe that I want to see portrayed more. And I can say for myself, this is one thing I'm actively working on, because I have really focused RBF apparently. And people tell me that I'm scary, and I'm like, I swear I'm not scary, I promise. I'm like, you can come talk to me, I'll talk to you all day long. I just come talk to me. I'm not mean. I swear. I hear it all the time, but I guess I'm just intimidating. I don't know.
I got that from one of my owners at my gym the other day, and he was like, he like approached me like halfway, like I was like, in between. He was like
you're gonna attack him.
Yeah, he was like, hey Sam, how you doing today? And I was like, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I was like, why are you approaching me like that? He was like, you just look like you're not here today. And I was like, because I'm working. I think you guys brought up this like a couple podcasts ago, where when we're in the gym, We are there
Focused.
for a reason. We are focused. We have work to do. Like, that is my job right now, is to just grow. So yeah, I might have RBF, but like, respectfully, if you come up and you approach me mid-set or in between sets, whatever the case may be, I will gladly take out my headphone and have a friendly conversation with you. But I'm gonna make it very minuscule, short, because I have to get back to work.
Yep, agreed.
So,
Agreed.
I don't mean to have RBF, but
no, I know. Whenever I see people at shows, they'll come up to me and talk to me like, "I watch you on your podcast." Oh, great, that's awesome. Who are you? Where's you? I like look at your Instagram. Let me make sure I can connect my name with the face. Like, totally, come talk to me. I'm like, I swear I'm not that mean. I might look it, but I'm not. But I'm not. I promise.
I think another thing that I'd like to touch on too is the reverse. I feel like that's not talked enough about for first-time competitors, and how much of a struggle it can be. I think I looked at Jordan at our last show and I was like, I'm not worried.
I was hoping you were going to talk about that. She was very confident backstage.
Very confident.
I give them a warning. I have before you go into it, Sam, I give them a conversation every single time right after the show about how important the next 24 to 48 hours are. I have their macros set that night or Sunday morning. That way they're ready to go. And Sam was extremely confident. She was like, don't worry about me. I got this. And I'm like, okay, but just so you know, it's going to be, and she was very, and I'm like, all right, well, hopefully she, and then I get the text like 3 days later. Hey, I need to talk to you. I'm struggling. So good. I'm glad that you're going to bring this up.
Well, I do the same thing as you, Jordan. I have that conversation that this is going to be a lot harder than you think it is. So just so you know, be prepared. This is normal. If you feel this way, it's normal to feel this way, but it's going to be a lot harder. So yeah.
It's hard. It's harder than I definitely thought. And the reason why is because at the show, when she said that it's going to be hard, you're going to, be tempted by these things and do X, Y, and Z, I really just thought to myself, I'll look at it as a prep. Just reverse, like I am not going to have any bites off my plan. I'm not going to do X, Y, and Z because I feel like during my prep, I was already not doing these things. But I think one of the hardest things is because whenever you're in prep, you have a show date.
You have a goal.
You have a goal. You have an end, not necessarily stopping point, because of course, like I continued on to do 2 shows. I was not expecting that at that point, but I had like a break moment where I was like, okay, like I have a show in mind. So the show date is definitely something that helped me keep my mind focused in a prep. I don't have that now. And that's kind of difficult, but I am trying to remind myself that my show season in 2026 is going to be so much better than what I had in 2025. So maybe it might not be within arm's reach of you like an actual show date is, but it's within a couple yards from you now, and it's not far. You have to put in the work to get there. I really have been struggling with body image. I feel like body image has been, outside of the show date, obviously, body image has been the second thing that I've really been struggling with, is just watching the lines fade, watching my body go back to kind of a normal body rather than really built muscular girl body. And but just being patient with yourself and realizing that in order to be competitive and in order to step back on stage, if that is your desired goal, you have to grow. If you don't do these things, you're going to literally show up the same, and you're not going to be satisfied with yourself in 2026 or whenever you decide to step back on stage. That like, I didn't put in the work to do this or X, Y, and Z, but it's been hard. It has been hard.
I think one of the things that also affects people going into reverse is that for the longest time that you've been in prep, you kind of identify with being that muscular girl, that lean girl, and that's how you get attention. People are like, oh, you look so good when your show, da 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 da, and then those things start fading, and then you don't get that same kind of attention anymore. And it's all of a sudden like, okay, like, do I not even look like I work out anymore? Well, I might as well keep going. Well, fuck it. Like, what's the difference? I might as well just keep going with this, that kind of thing. So you have to shift your expectations of how everybody perceives you as well, so, and that's hard.
The support will also fall off. That's also been another big eye opener for me too, that I've also realized that prep is definitely a hard thing, and a lot of people want to show you support in a prep. Yes, absolutely. Not saying that like these people have to do these things for me, because they don't, but the support isn't really there when you're going back into an off season, because you're not as lean, or like you just said, like your image kind of goes away. But deep down, it really doesn't. If you are truly so content with yourself, and if you fully love yourself to the fullest capacity, none of that's going to matter. The outside perspective of people shouldn't matter. It's a matter of how you feel and what you feel about yourself. So like for me, I have just been feeling not necessarily fat or like, you know, whatever. I've just been feeling a lot larger, a lot more fluffy. I'd say soft and fluffy. And I just have to keep reminding myself that this is normal. This is normal in order to grow. And with this being my first reverse, I definitely will take everything that is happening right now and apply it to my next, because these are just feelings. I know that all of this in like the next couple of weeks, hopefully these feelings will kind of diminish and just work themselves out, which I know that they will. I just have to keep reminding myself that the same goal is still there. The stage is always going to be there, but I really want to bring in a better package in my next season. So I just have to keep reminding myself that if I want that, and if I want that goal, I just got to keep working, and I got to keep getting there.
When in your prep, you're getting those constant dopamine hits too from the attention and everything. It literally is addictive. It's literally addictive. That's why people can stay on stage. That's why they can't gain weight. You know, all those kinds of things. Same thing when you're going and cycling off your cycles and things like that too. You start feeling you don't feel like you're getting overweight. You feel like you're getting skinny. You know, guys have this problem all the time. That's why they can't cycle off, because they're afraid to not look like a big jack dude anymore. You know, so it can go the opposite direction as well. And all of a sudden, you don't feel the pumps in the gym like you did before. You don't see the vascularity all over the place. You feel flat. You feel like squishy, you know, all those kinds of things. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, did I just lose everything I worked for? You know, that kind of thing too. And it's hard to mentally work through that. And that's where, again, communicating with your coach and things like that, being like, I feel like this. It's like, well, of course you feel like that because we're doing this, you know, of course you do, because that's supposed to happen right now, you know, and just kind of hearing that reassurance that like, this is how it's supposed to go. This is how this is supposed to feel. You're normal for feeling this way. It's okay to feel this way. Just work your way through it, you know?
And that's something too, that bodybuilding, it really does skew the participants' view of what a normal, healthy body fat looks 100%. Like. You know, something on Reddit this past week was that Laura Lee, the Miss Bikini Olympia, did an award for one of the shows, and somebody posted her and was saying like, oh, she looks so different. Well, yeah, she's not depleted anymore, but she looks healthy. They were talking about like her, like, of course we look like this when we're on.
That's actually, no, that's one of the things that's a good thing for her. She has fuller cheeks. So like when she gets really dieted, she doesn't have, like, I have these freaking jawbones sticking out. She doesn't have that because she's got a fuller face. That's just normal.
Like that's what I'm saying. Like to that person, unfortunately, they just have such a skewed reality of what a normal body looks like, you know? So, and it's hard for us as competitors when we've done such hard work to reduce the lines and to reduce the vascularity and to get shredded. And you go for 20 plus weeks of scale dropping. You're wanting the scale to drop. You're wanting the scale to drop. You're wanting to see more lines, then shifting gears. And now it's like, oh, I want the scale to go up. And I do want to look a little bit softer. And I do want to look like, these are good things. It's very, very hard, you know? Yeah. So, Sam, is there anything in particular with those thoughts that you're struggling with right now that I've told you or that you've implemented to kind of ease the burden of that thought process? Like, I know we talked about, you know, usually I tell you guys like 8 to 10 weeks post show, like put that on the calendar. It's not a show date, but then, you know, at that point, hormonally, you should be in a better spot. You should be, you know, out of that sensitive zone, reverse. Some people I say do a photo shoot 8 to 10 weeks out, you know, from that show. Like, is there anything like that you've implemented to kind of help with those strategies? Or what would be something that you would tell that, you know, first time competitor, that first reverser, to try to do their best to protect themselves and put themselves in the best position mentally for that reverse?
Do exactly what you said. Put a mark on your calendar for about 8 to 10 weeks post show, and kind of let that be your show mark. Like, I know that 8 to 10 weeks is almost my birthday, so I'm kind of looking forward to my birthday in a sense, and that kind of like leads me into like 7-8 week mark. So if you don't have a birthday, but put that on your calendar as like, okay, at 8 to 10 weeks, I could potentially have a free meal, or I could potentially have an intuitive eating day. Whichever you and your coach decide which would be best for you, look forward to that, because just know it's going to be something that you worked extremely hard to get. I'll talk about our check-ins this past week. Before I do that, my hormones have not been nice to me at all. I did get my cycle back. I lost my cycle about like 12 to 13 weeks into my prep. So it has been a minute since I've had a cycle. I unexpectedly got it back a week before my show at Hurricane. Weird. Don't know how, don't know why, whatever. I'm happy. I was happy that I got it back, but I was like, is this right? Like, is this actually happening right now? Like, I'm still depleted. Like, I was still going through like the motions of just being in prep. So getting your cycle back and letting yourself hormonally balance out has a lot to do with fighting those thoughts, and has a lot to do with being negative to yourself. I cannot express that enough. I am a very huge advocate for journaling. I journal a lot. I don't do it every day, but I try to do it at least maybe like 3 or 4 times a week. Whenever I'm feeling stuck with myself, me and the paper or me and the computer, whatever the case may be, that gives me an ultimate chance to just be vulnerable with myself and maybe just be more honest with how I currently am, which led me into my check-in with Jordan this week, where I did have a cycle last week, and I struggled really hard mentally last week. I just felt down and icky majority of the days. Like, I felt just big and a little bit more fluffier than normal. My bloating was terrible last week, which didn't put me in the right mental either. Like, it just made me feel like I wasn't moving in the right direction as to where I should be. So when I checked in with Jordan this week and I told her that I had a cycle and that I had these like negative thoughts, and honestly, I didn't go back and do the math until that night about how much I've only been up in weight from stage weight, and I've only gained 4 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not a lot.
And especially on your frame.
I'm a tall girl. I'm 5'7", almost 5'8". That's not a lot of weight. Nope. And I think that I have just been getting so much into my mental with my image of myself versus actually the stats. So when I checked in with Jordan this week, I told her how bad of a week that I had, and I put my weight in, and she's like, I know that you feel like you're doing something that's not good right now. She's like, but you're actually in an amazing spot. And in fact, I'm going to reward you an untracked meal this week. And that goes back to communication with your coach. And her hearing her that she's proud of me and where I'm at currently and just being in a good spot, which Jordan doesn't, I'll talk about this too. Jordan does not compliment me unless I deserve it, like 110%. So whenever I hear those words from my coach, I know that I am doing a really good job, and that just makes me feel 10 times more better versus a coach that's like feeding me, good job, you're doing this, good job, you're doing that, good job, you're doing this. It doesn't feel as wholesome. So when I received that response from her with this week's check-ins that I am in a really good spot, and in fact, here's an untracked meal, that made me feel so much more at ease that I am on the right track and that I am doing the right things. Even though it might not feel like it and you're looking too much about your body image and about yourself, statistically, you're doing amazing. And that's what should really matter, and communicating with your coach.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to just piggyback on that too. One of the things I tell the girls is that, you know, like you said, 8 weeks or so past your show date, we want to do labs. So that's your goal. We want to get your, you know, hormones into a good place. So if you really stick really well to your reverse, coming out of this, we'll be in a good spot to draw your labs and see where we are hormonally, and then start really optimizing everything. So using that as a goal works for the girls that are really like intent upon becoming better for the next season and stuff like that, because having your hormones in play in the right spot is huge on making sure that you make optimal progress as an athlete. So, if we can, I tell them, so listen, if we can get everything stable by the time we're 8 weeks in or out of your show, so we can go get labs done, we can make sure we're on the right track, we can fine tune everything at that point, all that kind of stuff. So it really gives them something to shoot for. Like Jordan, you mentioned something about a photo shoot, that works too, keeping that kind of thing there. But just not even just the outward appearance, but like you were saying, the mental, like that mental aspect of, okay, this is going to make me a better athlete, this is going to help me perform better. I think that helps as well, for sure.
I do also have a photo shoot coming up too. So to piggyback off of that, making sure that like you're not losing the actual side of yourself, no matter like how you might look outside. Because again, this is a judgmental sport, as sad as that is, but also again, you're signing yourself to be competitive. So therefore you're signing yourself up to be judged. So therefore you are going to judge yourself, but keeping yourself mentally focused to where the point of like, I know I need to grow, things are going to get a little bit softer, food's going to increase, this is normal. It is hard to come out of that, especially coming from a prep and watching that scale go up versus watching it go down. So
I know Jordan and I've had this conversation. I like myself better thicker. I'm at that point now where I'm like, I don't want to be this lean anymore. I'm like, it's too cold out to be this lean.
It's cold here in Florida today. I like stepped outside and I was like, oh, I'm gonna put a jacket on today.
Why do I always do this in the fall and winter? I don't know. I'm like, I need a good freaking 5-6 pounds of body fat on me right now. I'm like, I need my ass to jiggle. Like, come on, man.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little jiggle. Just a little jiggle.
Oh man.
All right, so we've been talking for a while. So tell me, did we hit all the hit points that you wanted to touch on? Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you wanted to just kind of hammer home to the girls that are listening, that kind of thing?
Just remember to be authentically with yourself, no matter where you are in this process. No one is making you do this. You are signing yourself up to do this.
Yes.
It is also a privilege to compete in this sport. I have to preach that enough, because I didn't really realize how much of a privilege was until after my off season. You are meant to be here for a reason if you are in this sport, no matter if that chooses for you to go pro or if that just makes you want to do something that you say you've never done before. It doesn't matter. You belong here, and you hired a coach for a reason. Coaches are also not scary. I feel like that's also something that I wanted to kind of briefly touch on too, is people kind of turn their noses away to even having like a lifestyle coach or a fitness coach or even just a life coach in general, because it's just so judged to have like people give you things, I guess, in a sense, to make yourself better. Like, oh, she needs a coach to do X, Y, and Z to be healthy. It's normal. All of this is normal. And honestly, if you don't have a coach of some sort in some way, find one. They're changing, whether they're a bodybuilding coach, whether it's a lifestyle coach, whether it's just a fitness coach, whatever the case may be. Those people are there to help you. Sometimes we get stuck, and to have an outside perspective to look into your own life, it can help you evolve. It can help you change. So just remember to be authentically yourself, especially within this sport, as it is a privilege, and just overall, just be you. Don't let other people, just
don't let other people dim your light. Don't let other people dim your light.
If you think that this is your calling, do it. One more thing. At my last show, I got the opportunity to meet Jamie and Greg. And anytime someone asks me about my last show, I bring up that conversation that I had with Papa Bear with Greg. That conversation meant so much to me. And honestly, was very eye-opening for me as to how much I mean in this sport, not only to myself, but to the team. Yeah. And I don't know, just hearing his words about my stage presence and about how this is something that is meant for me and could potentially see me go extremely far in this really gave me that like support and oomph that I needed to hear, especially going through like a reverse, to kind of just keep your eyes on that yard distance. So don't be afraid to reach out to someone, like reach out to your coach, reach out to someone a little bit higher, or whatever the case may be, to kind of hear what you need to hear to potentially just keep yourself pushing forward.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is one thing I will give a little shout out to Greg right now, because he's really good about that. Like, he always, for some reason, he can just hone in on that one thing that you really need to hear that day.
And I didn't know that I needed to hear it that day either. Like, I was so wrapped around just being in the show, and whenever he approached me, I already was like, hi. This is an opportunity in itself for me to even be in the same room as you. You know what I mean? Like, all of these people with Fit Body Fusion, even all of the coaches being on a podcast with two amazing mentors that are on the team, just in itself is just so appreciative. And not a lot of people will realize that until you're actually here doing it. So hearing those things that you need to hear, being a part of a large team that might help you, whatever the case may be, that's, again, there for a reason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that is a fantastic place to leave off with this podcast. So thank you so much for reaching out and asking to come on too. Like, I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic.
This is one of my favorite episodes. I already know. Like, I think that this is going to be something that's, you know, Shawn and I talk about this. Like, it's one thing for us to say it, you know, but it's another for somebody to hear that's at the same level as you right now, trying to climb up those ranks, trying to go into their first show, you know, getting those conversations out, and they don't know kind of what's real, what's not, you know. So really hearing from somebody that's there right now is crucial. You know, when I first got into this, there was not a lot of people posting about this on YouTube and things like that. There's so much good information out there. So I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate everything that you've shared with the listeners today. I really do think this is going to be one of our best episodes. So thank you. Thank you for bringing up the topic. We love this. And we talk about it all the time. If anybody wants to come on, has any topics, like, this is what it's all about. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having me. I talk a lot about just self-help and motivational things on my own podcast as well. So if you guys want to ever continue on that self-evolving journey, you guys can check out my podcast. It's the Everything Exchange on Spotify. But it has been just, again, such a pleasure to be here talking with you guys about something that I'm extremely passionate about too, because I don't have a lot of people in my circle that are in this industry. So not only sitting here and get to talk with two amazing mentors, but just talking about a topic that is so near and dear to my heart. And again, speaking to all the listeners too, that you are not alone. Yes. Someone is going through the exact same thing as you. Someone feels the exact same way with you. And if you want to talk about something, reach out and talk to them about it, because I do agree. I think this is going to be a really good podcast episode for people that just need that extra push and that extra oomph of, I don't know where I'm at or where I'm going, but this is going to help for sure.
Yeah. That's a wonderful thing about social media. We talked about it before during this podcast. It can be detrimental, but it can be very, very helpful too, because it can connect that smaller circle with the big circle around the world of the people who need to hear it, you know? So I think that's fantastic. So wonderful. Okay, guys. Well, we will wrap it up here. Check out her podcast. Say it one more time for us so that everybody can look you up on Spotify. Oh, it cut out. We lost you.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Hear you.
I was getting a call, so that probably was why.
Okay.
It's the Everything Exchange on Spotify. It's also the Everything Exchange on Instagram. But yeah, I typically do episodes every Tuesday, and I'm also open for any topics that you would like for me to discuss. If there's anything that you're struggling with, relationship, personal, whatever the case may be, just send me a DM on my Instagram, and I'd love to talk about it.
Awesome. Wonderful. Well, ladies and everyone out there listening, thank you guys so much for joining us again. Like, comment, subscribe, all the fun things. And we will be back again with another fantastic Behind the Bikini episode next week. And enjoy your weekends and going into this holiday season with Thanksgiving next week. So be grateful and thankful for all of our blessings. And we will see you guys next time. Bye.